Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Titus. Now in this video, I'm here to talk to you guys about my 2021 super rare plants wish list for 2021. Now, end of last year, I was actually intending to finish all my plant wish list. Unfortunately, I should have learned my lesson that around about end of the year, it gets really busy during the Christmas and the New Year's time period. And I should have been filming in advance, but I wasn't. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to release this video last year. So I'm just going to release it this year. And what a better way to start off the year than just, firstly letting you guys know about our gender reveal. So if you guys haven't watched that video of what the gender is of our child, I will link that down below. But secondly, to start off with these super rare plants that I wish to obtain. Okay, so in this list, I'm not really going to expect that I'm going to own these. They are very pricey from what I've seen, and they're very scarce here in Australia, Melbourne. And I don't really know if I'm going to get it, but it's just something to keep in mind because it's just good to look forward to something that you want to own in future. So let's get started. Alright, so just one of the things that I want to let you guys know is that you might notice that I'm now wearing a lapel mic, and I hope that I'm sounding much more better out in the screen and that the framing is actually much more wider to enable me to really just move about from the camera without really losing that sound quality. So hopefully this one is actually improving better. And the other thing that I just wanted to say before we start is just because these plants are super rare and I do want to obtain them, it doesn't necessarily mean also that I don't want to still own common plants, because I really do. And in fact, I'm gonna release a 2021 haul video of the different common, uncommon, and maybe rare plants that I've again recently obtained. So keep an eye for that. Otherwise, let's get started with the list, all right? So number one super rare plant wish list that I've been wanting to own is the variegated Adansonii. All right, so variegated Monstera Adansonii. I believe that's what it's called. So this is that image right here. If you guys can see, maybe I'll just move down here. And as you guys can see there, and I'm looking here in my image as well, as you can see, they look very nice. It's just like a normal Monstera Adansonii, except it's got white variegations on it. And this plant is kind of highly sought out for, just purely because it's really expensive. So I think one leaf around this time around has been reduced to either 2,500 to 3,000 Australian dollars. So it's kind of crazy. Okay, so this plant is really pricey, and I think the reason for that being is that it's also hard to cultivate these. So oftentimes those white variegations actually may die off, which is quite scary, and that's probably one of the things why I don't necessarily want to own variegated plants, but I do love them. I mean, the popularity is there, but one of the variegated plants that is amazing how it maintains its variegation is my Syngonium fantasy, and I think maybe in future I will show you guys how that's going. But I'm so amazed at how well that Syngonium fantasy has maintained the white variegation. So hopefully, variegated Adansonii, variegated Monsteras and all that stuff will also have that capacity to maintain it, but who knows really. All right, let's move on to number two plant. All right, the next plant wish list for this year for me is the variegated Philodendron Eilmanii. Okay, so you can see a photo of that just down here. Again, another plant that is not very common, okay? And the reason why I would love this is because I heard that kind of like the Monstera Thigh constellation, that this philodendron actually maintains that variegation. Okay, so it's not common for the variegations of it to brown off and die off. Plus, it's very well spread out as well. So I think that's kind of nice to own. Again, this plant is very expensive. I think there was like a tiny baby that I saw on Instagram, in which one of the seller was willing to sell for $370, which is very, very, very expensive. And then an established plant would probably be like around $2,500 to $3,000. So not as expensive, I think, as the variegated Adansonii, but still something that's highly sought for, and not a lot of people have these. So that's second on my super rare plant wish list. All right, the third super rare plant wish list that I want is the variegated fiddle leaf fig tree. Okay, so that looks like this. Now, be very wary when you guys are buying variegated plants that number one, you're looking for something that's already well established, and number two, that they have an established plant that actually has good variegations around it, and also healthy leaves that may indicate healthy roots as well. Okay, so I've seen a lot of these plants in Facebook groups of them obtaining it and some people selling it. However, what I really want to obtain is one that's actually healthy and established, because often people who may not know how to look after this, that may try to sell it, may actually be ripping people off who they're selling off to, because oftentimes they may sell it off because they think they've given up looking after it. But if you're buying a plant, especially if it's variegated, you want to make sure that the roots of it is actually quite healthy, and the actual plant itself. I may make a video in future regarding plant health and how you can find the weaker one versus the stronger, more mature plants. But certainly if I'm going to obtain this type of plant, I certainly want one that's actually quite healthy. Otherwise, I'd probably paying a lot of money for something that might just die off. So yeah, I think with this plant, I've probably only ever seen it once in Facebook Market. I've never ever seen it there for ever again, and the one that they were selling wasn't that healthy either. So I don't know how I'm going to obtain one of these, and I don't even know if I think there is one or two or three that I've seen in Australia that someone has shared, but they weren't quite healthy. So we'll just see how we go in future. Fourth plant on my wish list is the Philodendron Ring of Fire. Okay, I think that's what it's called. So as you can see here in this image, it's really nice looking, this particular plant, and again, it's very uncommon, this type of shape, because it's like a serrated sword, whereby it also has this variegated kind of look that has a little bit of sectoral variegation, a little bit of like the thigh constellation, and then some of the new growth is also, again, a little bit of a different color. I don't know why it's called Ring of Fire, to be honest, probably because it looks like a fire, or maybe the color of it may indicate like a fire. I have no idea really, but for me, I've come to a liking with different plants that have that sort of sword elongated shape, not necessarily too thin or too fat, but just that perfect nice shape, just like your Anthurium plumanii, okay, from my previous video, if you guys have seen, and also kind of like the peace lily shape. So I like that shape of it, that's kind of like a sword, or a dagger rather, because it looks very, very beautiful. And the last plant on my super rare plant wish list is none other than the Epipremnum ampellismum silverform. I think that's how you say it. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And that's that image here. Okay, as you can see, it's not variegated compared to my other super rare plant wish list for this year. However, the thing that really caught my attention in this plant is number one, it's an Epipremnum, and I just love Epipremnums. I think you might be able to see one right behind, right there. So that's a glorious, and that's the behind it anyway. It's covering it. Okay, right there, you'll be able to see there's an Epipremnum golden pothos. Okay, Epipremnums are one of my favorite plants, and if you haven't seen my not golden pothos, my pothos collection video yet, again, a link down below. I just love Epipremnums because they're really easy to look after, plus they grow upwards and they grow like a giant as well, kind of like your monsteras. And the thing about this silver ampellismum is it's very uncommon that you will ever see a blue hue rare form type of plant. Well, not really, but you've got your silver sword, which we have everywhere here in Australia, but I've never seen this plant anywhere at all. I've only ever seen them sold in Queensland, and again, if I'm going to buy one, I want to buy an established plant, hopefully, and also a plant that's already healthy, okay? Because a lot of the plants that I'm seeing sold of this type is actually not that healthy, and or they're a cutting, okay? And when you're buying a cutting, I've learned better before is that they're quite hard to root, especially if you're in an environment where it's not really humid. Plus, there's a tendency that it might die off, okay? So I'd rather buy an established plant that's actually got like a good root growth and also new shoots coming out. Anyway, that's about it, guys. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, then please give me that like button. If you do want to see me make more videos like this, then please comment down below. Otherwise, please subscribe to help support this channel. I am very thankful for all my family and friends who have supported me in this journey. And again, if you guys weren't aware, this is probably now my 3rd year and still a lot of learning to do and a lot of stabilizing to do. I finally found my niche in this YouTube world of what I want to keep doing, and that is talking about plants. So thank you guys for always supporting me. If you guys have any other comments that you want to jot down below, please let me know down below, or if there's any videos that you would like me to make. I would like to give a little bit more I guess focus in terms of care tips video, because that's something that people find useful. But I just really want to make this video just to close off that loop of my plant wish list, and hoping that maybe this year or next year or maybe the year after that I'm able to obtain those plants. Again, thank you guys for supporting me. I will see you guys on the next video. Goodbye and God bless.